We appreciate everybody attending. My name is Jim Palmer. I'm here with Joe Cuomo. I'm going to walk you guys through a quick agenda of what we want to touch on today. The vast majority of today, we value everyone's time. We know you're all busy, so the vast majority of the presentation today is going to be done via demo. We're going to really give you a hands-on look at the technology, what the broker's perspective would be, not only on the front end, the dashboard that you would have if you're doing a deal, but also from if you were in a live auction, which we have one going today, which would be really cool. So Joe will walk you through some of that. My name is Jim Palmer. I'm the Senior Vice President of Broker Strategy. I've been at TenX for 5 years. I came over through an acquisition. I was one of 3 partners of a software company that we sold to TenX. So I'm passionate about the technology, and I've been on the broker channel, broker strategy team for the entire 5 years. So passionate about brokers as well. Joe?
Joe Cuomo, national head of our sales team, and also manage our capital markets relationships for some of our larger institutional clients. My story is actually, I was a client back in 2011, executing, running loan sales and REO sales for the firm I worked with on the platform. Saw the tremendous success, the execution, loved the technology, really saw something here that I thought was so dynamic and different that the industry really needed. And I decided to join, at the time, auction.com in the end of 2011. So I've been here for almost 9 years and really helped develop our entire business. I think when I joined, we had about $1.5 billion of assets sold and closed, and now we're over $24 billion, and we've transacted with 6,000 brokers. So platform has really grown significantly over the last 9 years, and I'm happy to be a part of the team and watch the next evolution of our growth with the brokers.
Perfect. So Joe just touched on it briefly, but I'll give everybody a little bit of a history lesson because I think it is important for you to know where we've come from. We've been in the industry for a while. So I'll briefly talk about the history of TenX. We're going to do a broker interview with Barry Swatzenbarg. He's the Executive Managing Director for Colliers International. He's been trading real estate on the TenX platform since 2011, been wildly successful. So I think that'll probably be the best part of this entire presentation will be for you to be able to hear from one of your peers. I'll jump into, actually Joe will then talk about the value props very specifically to the broker and how best to use the platform as a tool. I'll jump into a dashboard of our broker dashboard. Joe will do a demo of the auction dashboard, and then we'll wrap it up with a Q&A. So as Joe mentioned, the company's changed quite a bit since you've been here, and he did reference that we were formerly auction.com. So TenX was formerly auction.com, have a long history of success and a track record that has made us known as the largest and the most successful transaction platform for all of commercial real estate. That started with an investment from Stone Point Capital, along with inventory from some special servicers that enabled us to have our first commercial online auction in 2009. Last year, as Joe mentioned, it's actually 23. He got a little bit excited, 24 billion, but we eclipsed $23 billion in overall sales on the platform.
I rounded up.
Yes, I like it. And that represents, this is a really compelling stat, that represents 95% of all online transactions have taken place on TenX. Obviously, the vast majority of commercial real estate transactions take place offline, but if you are doing, and we're seeing a whole lot more, there's a lot of platforms are starting to evolve and come to market. 95% of all online transactions take place on TenX. 2014 was a notable year in that Google Capital made a really strategic investment in the company and really brought with it a focus on marketing and data. Of course, they are Google, so data was paramount to everything that they do. We pride ourselves on our database of buyers, 400,000 strong, and our data-driven approach to the way in which we do our business. So you'll start to see that a lot more, how we incorporate data to better serve our brokers, our sellers, our buyers, to make everybody more equipped to make strong, data-driven, informed decisions when it comes to real estate. The last investment that's noteworthy was by Thomas H. Lee Partners in 2017, where they acquired the majority ownership stake for $1.6 billion. So we should pause on that. Think about that, $1.6 billion investment in property tech, in an online transaction marketplace. We've seen a lot more investment in the industry. I think it just shows the evolution of the industry, how much more it's coming online, and the amount of money that's behind it. What's notable about TH Lee has been their emphasis on creating strategic partnerships with the brokerage community and a commitment to the brokers to really scale the company. We've just rolled out a new broker partnership program, which I'll walk you through at the end, but ultimately it's just motivating, incentivizing, and rewarding our top producing brokers that do the most deals on the platform. And nobody's done more deals on the platform than Barry Swatzenbarg. So Barry has been kind enough to join us and share some time with everybody. Barry's the Executive Vice President for Investment and Loan Sales at Colliers International. And what's interesting, if you look at his bio, I read this, I'll highlight it for you guys. I read this last night. Oh, I thought I could, but in this bio it says he has an extensive history of producing sales results with outside the box solutions to maximize value. I think that really says a lot about Barry's approach. He's sold over 150 deals for more than $750 million on the TenX platform. Barry, you began selling on the platform in 2011, predominantly with special servicers, and that's changed quite a bit. So I was wondering if you could maybe share with the audience why that is, how your business has evolved and changed, and how you've incorporated TenX as one of those outside-of-the-box solutions to maximize value for your clients.
Sure. The change, really culminated as you kind of moved, or as we moved through, say, 2011, 2012, and had probably at that time, transacted on about $200 million of the real estate for servicers. Is predominantly our buyers in those auction arenas were high net worth individuals or funds set up to acquire. And I think, the vast majority of those buyers had a good experience on the platform for purposes of the acquisition, and, started to take to the technology that, I can sell and transact within a defined period of time and still get the results that I want to achieve as far as disposition value. And so what we started doing and became apparent is that we were seeing a lot of repeat business on our end for people who were buying from us, coming back a year later, 18 months later, and then wanting to dispose of the asset with the same platform. Furthermore, not just for those that were having, a solid experience on the buy side, we started to be able to share with a lot of, traditional sellers the option of selling on TenX as, another arrow in our quiver of options to a client. And what we found is that, if we present up options, because it's really our job is to give sellers options on how they want to sell, and then they can make the business decision on how they want to proceed. But if you share with them that, if it's important to them to have the certainty of pricing, to have the certainty of closing, maybe it's a structure for estate planning, maybe it's a partnership that isn't getting along too well, and, they need to have a lot of transparency above and beyond just an offer matrix, to ensure amongst the group that, the market has spoken and the prices has prevailed. We're finding a lot of private sellers are migrating to the platform, and I think a portion of that certainly is our success on it, having done so many, but it's also just them being able to see that properties can trade with speed and certainty, and in many cases, the value that you're leaving on the table is negligible, if not many times it's more money than they anticipate.
So you kind of touched on it, but getting your sellers comfortable selling, via online or through an online auction, that's something that you've obviously been successful at getting them to be more comfortable. And I think, as you said, your history, the volume that you've done, all that you've been able to do speaks for itself. But can you speak to maybe how, some of these folks, most of the people that are listening today have never done a deal on TenX. And so how best for them to maybe explain to a seller the value and why they should be open to this as opposed to maybe the traditional sales process?
Well, unlike a traditional sale process, what you get with the TenX platform is really the best of both worlds and really a multiple of exposure. And, the analytics to kind of share that with them are relatively easy to present. So you're going to be able to tell a prospective client that, okay, I'm Barry here at Colliers. We're running our traditional process. We're going to all the people we would normally go to. The only difference is we're driving that activity to the site for purposes of the auction. In addition to that, you've got a whole layer of marketing, robust marketing, quite frankly, that comes from TenX to the bidder pool to then drive activity to the site. And the outlier there that always happens on every auction, and this is part of the value prop to a seller, is unique equity. So if there's investment brokers that are on this call or people that sell often, you already know a lot of the likely people that are going to bid, but what you always want to have are the people that may have a reason to pay more or be more aggressive on pricing, and we refer to that as unique equity. TenX does a stellar job in uncovering that unique equity, and that's the buyer that nobody really knew about, but they have it, and they have access to it because it's the random doctor in Canada who happens to have $3 million and wants to buy something in the United States. That guy is not going to be in our database, but that guy is searching the TenX site and wants to participate and ends up in the activity tree that comes to us to then act on. And so from a seller perspective, there's a strong argument to be made about the amount of activity you're going to have on the asset. And then that's further right in front of their face, if you will, as you move through the marketing process. So within 2 weeks of taking an asset live, you've got a highly organized dashboard that shows real-time activity from NDAs executed to everyone that's inquiring. The client can have access to that. They can see it. You have to work it as a broker. You got to follow up with the leads, but you put the notes in there. They move through their status change as to whether they're just somebody kicking the tires versus advancing to get registered to bid. And then I would say lastly, the other piece that's the value prop is that you're not flying blind. So the way we govern ourselves when we're running an auction is that if we had an auction that was ending today, we're going to have a halfway decent sense, probably towards the end of last week, as to how many people we're going to have that are going to be active. I mean, the auction process by nature, the live bid process is back-ended. But the good thing is that if you work the activity, follow through with everything, and again, you're having these weekly calls, with the client going through all the agenda, all the activity, you're going to know where people are kind of at. And so it allows you to have a pricing discussion with your seller before you're up against the clock. And that brings a lot of value to the table, because if you have an asset that you're selling and it's going to be a $5 million deal and you've got 7 bidders who have already kind of indicated that they're in that zone, well, then you can talk that through with the client on what the strategies might be to maximize value there. Conversely, if you're going to be a little light for whatever reason, maybe there's something that was learned at the property or happened since you went to market that nobody expected, but it gives you a chance to talk through that issue to make sure that you can still transact in that same event. So it's a way to really share with a seller that if they engage you, coupled with TenX, because TenX is doesn't want to be a broker, doesn't want to do what you do. They don't want to tell the property story. That's your job, to do that and push the activity. But if you do that with both of those marketing campaigns, you bring more action to the deal. And we run a lot of traditional sales as well, but I can tell you, if you actually stack them against each other, the TenX numbers are always higher. There's no comparison.
That's great. I could hand this whole thing over to you and let you keep going. We're running on time, but I want to ask one quick question. You can answer this quickly, and you kind of touched on some of it, but something that we commonly hear from brokers is like, how do I explain, why do I need you, TenX? Isn't that my job as the broker? And so if you could kind of help, how do you demonstrate the partnership between TenX and yourself, and how do you articulate to your seller, hey, this is what my role and responsibility is. This is the value I bring. You know what I mean? You know where I'm going with this. It's just a question that a lot of brokers share. And so how do you really position it to your seller?
Well, I mean, the partnership component between us and TenX, and I'm fortunate with a great team that I work with on the TenX side, is, everybody has their lane, but everybody understands what the trench warfare is when you have to transact. So, TenX is going to bring a lot of the marketing, a lot of the process, a lot of the certainty, obviously, with the bidding process that takes place. But, by having the organization of all the docs online, to the third-party reports, to the custom marketing materials, and then working with you jointly with the seller through the marketing process, they have that piece, but all we're doing is what we would normally do anyways. It's just we're doing a lot more of it in a condensed time frame. So, it is a true partnership when you go to sell the product, but there's no question as a broker running that process, I mean, you're driving the bus. Your job is to be the knowledge piece for those assets and to convey those to the market. But what TenX does that is, I think, of high value is it dramatically increases the amount of people that you have to talk to transact on. And then for the sell side, the other value prop there is, I mean, you're transacting in a manner that, look, if you sell a deal today, live bid, it's an at-risk deal. So, we're not haggling over price. We're not negotiating a PSA. You're 24 hours away from having an EMD wired in and being at risk. So if those metrics of certainty of close have value to the seller, I mean, this is a format you have to transact on.
That's awesome. Barry, appreciate you taking the time. I think you just did Joe's job for him. But Joe, why don't you just touch, I mean, you've been here for a long time. You've partnered up with brokers like Barry for the last, 10 years. As I mentioned, we've really passionate about building out tools for the broker, really becoming a platform that to help a broker like Barry scale his business and do 10 to 15 more deals a year. Why don't you touch on kind of the value props real quickly, piggyback on
Sure, let me just add a couple things that Barry touched on. He mentioned, TenX does not want to be a broker, does not want to do your job. That's correct. Every deal transacted on the TenX platform, every property we sell has a broker. 50% of our business is now coming directly broker sourced, meaning brokers like Barry have seen the value in the platform, demonstrated that value to their clients on the sell side, and then bringing their assets, their deals to the TenX platform. So that's been a great part about the evolution over the last 9 years. Another thing Barry mentioned, I want to touch on real quick, is certainty of execution. And he mentioned marketing. The two biggest things that we do here at TenX are global exposure. The marketing campaigns we run, right? We onboard your asset. We have 48 days to market the deal. And people say, why do you have 48 days? Why can't you do it in 10, 20, or 30? Every week, we're putting out different marketing campaigns. We're doing digital, we're doing print, we have social media. But we have a very, very defined process that started years ago with Google, and we've developed proprietary algorithms. But that's how we've gotten 400,000 plus investors, qualified investors across 75 countries. So when you think about transacting real estate online, or everyone's ability to look at deals on the internet or just search the internet, that's what's made TenX great, is that they know that they can come to our platform, they can find opportunities, they can talk to the broker, they can tour the deal. That's the global exposure part of it. Before I get into the certainty of execution mechanism, which Barry touched on also, let me talk about removing uncertainty from the deal. Because one of the things that Barry did not mention, right, and it's great, he didn't say anything about distressed or auctions are for these types of properties, right? We're just another mechanism of transacting real estate about doing business online versus offline. And we have certain value propositions, right? And so that's what I'm trying to think about is we're just taking a traditional offline process and we're putting it online. So when you're a broker and you're thinking about this, the simplest way to do it, think about it, is instead of collecting LOIs come LOI date, all you're simply doing is asking those buyers to submit bids and offers online through our online auction business. And what we've created in the business and the portals that will show you the dashboards, the uncertainties are removed because you know the buyers, you know that their concerns. Things when you did a BOV, you didn't realize there were certain elements of deferred maintenance. Now that stuff comes up. One of the things when I talk about removing uncertainty is not just on the buy side, it's also on the diligence side for the buyers. The reason why we have the adoption that we have and we have this buyer database and folks show up is number one is the democratization of the process. Every buyer anywhere around the world has the same opportunity to buy the deal, okay, as anybody else. We qualify the buyers, we check their entity documents, their proof of funds. So everybody has the same chance, and that's what buyers say. They love the process and the platform because they have the same chance to win as everybody else. Two, talk about removing uncertainty. One of the things that we've learned over the years that not many, offline firms can do with the way the process is set up, and not many online firms really are doing in our competitors. We order third-party reports where necessary on every deal. We get a title commitment. We ensure we have a great offering memorandum. We have a rent roll, financial statement. We have leases. As I tell buyers, everything that you would ask for in a traditional process, we are providing to you here in the TenX process. Everything that you need to make your well-informed investment decision. Now, when we talk about the certainty of execution and the beauty of that part, once we run our 48-day marketing process, we can then conduct a 2-day auction. The end of the 2 days, the winning buyer is signing a non-negotiable PSA that they've looked at for the 48 days of marketing. Well, that's been sitting in the data vault. They then post a 10% non-refundable deposit, and they typically close 30 or 60 days later. So 48 days of marketing, auction, typically closing 30 to 60 days. You have an asset sold in less than 50 days with 10% hard money and non-negotiable contract. You typically have that asset closed 80 to 100 days in totality. So that's a beautiful part about the certainty of execution elements that the auction creates. I will touch upon just real quick in this crazy environment. We sold 11 assets yesterday out of 17. We had 59 unique bidders bid on those assets. So interest rates are still at all-time lows, right? By providing transparency, democratization, full due diligence packages, we providing confidence to these buyers to show up on auction day and make good investment decisions. So that's really the certainty of execution and the global reach that the platform provides. This next slide real quick is I'll talk about for literally 10 seconds. Barry mentioned about our ability to find the buyer, let's say the gentleman from Canada who's a doctor looking to invest in a deal in the United States. Only through an online platform and with the ability to use the internet that we have nowadays, will those buyers be able to see this, right? They won't be in databases. When you as a broker do your initial blast out to your database and then you sit and wait for folks to show up, TenX is constantly hitting the market. We have targeted emails, we do direct mail, we do one-on-one outreach through call campaigns. We do a lot social media. We do a lot of things. We hit 3 times the industry average in our direct email campaigns because we are targeting buyers. We're not just sending out a blast to 50,000 people and hoping folks show up in a spray and pray type of manner. We are directly targeting buyers based on the algorithms we have and who we know might be of best interest for the deal. And that's why we have the metrics that we have, which we'll touch upon in the dashboard. So the last 2 things are 51% of the buyers that buy the assets on our site come from outside the state the property is located. 70% of those buyers did not know about the deal, maybe when it was previously marketed, or when it just went to market, they heard about it from TenX. So when we ask buyers at the closing table, how did you hear about the deal? 70+% say, I heard about it from TenX's marketing. We just did a deal, was on the market traditionally. We had 14 fully approved bidders. The broker admitted, I only knew 2 of those bidders. It was a multifamily deal in Fitchburg, Wisconsin. We sold it at 28% above the highest offer received traditionally. That's the kind of stuff that you get with the TenX platform. I'll turn it back over to Jim, who's going to get into the broker dashboard and some of the technology that you all came to hear.
That's awesome. Thanks, guys. So as you can see, I have my browser up, and so I'm logged in as a user. This is my dashboard that I would click on. If I'm someone like Barry, my dashboard probably looks like this. Maybe I'm a little bit light of Barry, but it would show 8 deals that are on market right here. I have 4 deals that are under contract, and then I have 24 deals that I've closed. Barry's closed 150. But let's take a look at it. So this is just one common platform, one common dashboard that you get to manage all of your deals, whether they be online, under contract, or closed. So it's just a great, efficient way to manage your business. But then we're going to take a look at an individual asset. So this Ramada Sarasota asset is actually in an auction that should be ending shortly. So this is the back end view that you would have as the broker. Let's take a look real quickly before we drill down on the individual dashboard for this hotel. Let's take a look at what's going on outside. Wow, look at this current bid, 6.7 million. So this is a deal, 4 minutes. Oh wow, Joe, 4 minutes and 37 seconds. We may want to jump into the auction dashboard and show that, and then I'll piggyback. I'll come back and show you guys. But this is kind of cool, so you get to see. We still have time, so there's 4 minutes and 23 seconds. So I'll just show you real briefly. This is what a buyer would see on the front end. We, as Joe mentioned, we order all the photography, third-party reports. If I wanted to register to bid, I would just click right here. Everybody's already registered prior. This thing is ending in the next 4 minutes, so. It would be too late for me to enter the game because we have to have fully vetted buyers. Here's the property info. Here's the document vault. Something that's noteworthy is that we have a dual layer security vault. So it's the broker's decision. If you only want to show maybe like an OM to everybody, they would have to sign an electronic CA here. But in order to show maybe third parties or operating in financials, more confidential information, you do have the power as the broker to have a dual layer security. So only you can approve who gets access to those. And then obviously we put the broker's contact information front and center. So Joe's, he's a great broker from Marcus and Millichap. He's traded a bunch of hotels on the platform. So any prospective buyer has the ability to reach out to him, contact him directly. And then on every deal, you would have an asset manager. Brittany DeGrassi is that person that's dedicated to Jose to help anybody that has questions around the auction process, around the registration, helping get those buyers vetted out and put them in a position to actually compete to win. So the clock's coming down. Current bid is 6.7. We have 3 minutes to go. I'll show you real quickly in the next 3 minutes. This is what the individual dashboard would look like. We have 4 quick tabs, just an overview. So this is a great tool for you to be able to share this information with your sellers on a weekly basis and report back to them. They're always asking what's going on, how many people are you getting my asset in front of, and this is just a live data reporting dashboard that helps give you that traction. It shows 4,300 unique visitors have gone into and looked at this property page 6,900 times. Of those 4,300, 341 have signed a CA, and they visited the vault almost 900 times. We have 2 people that tried to register to bid. Commonly, it happens, we get people coming in the last 24 hours, and sometimes they're able to prove they're capable of executing, but these 9 others have already been approved. Let's take a look. Hold on, see how we're doing on our time. I'll come back to the dashboard.
Just show real quick, Jim, on the dashboard, the map.
Yeah.
So I think that speaks volumes. I mean, many brokers on the call. How many of you can say that you've done deals with 341 confidentiality agreements?
Yep.
Probably not many, but global exposure.
Look at the international.
Look at the international folks clicking on this hotel in Sarasota, Florida, right? All across the United States.
So when you're trying to prove to your seller, we're doing everything humanly possible, and then if you want to drill down, just, all right, who signed CAs? Here are the people that are more real, really actually underwriting this and taking a much deeper dive on it. So that's that. Marketing, Joe touched on, right, omni-channel marketing, multiple channels. There's statistics that prove if you need to use more than 3 channels to get the proper engagement. We actually use 8 channels to do it. And this, I don't want to waste time on it because I really want to jump into that auction dashboard. Leads tab is where you live and breathe, right? So this is, you can see Mark is actually viewing the listing right now.
Just click real quick on the leads tab. This is what every broker will get access to on a daily basis. We used to send out Excel files. Here are the leads who signed CAs. You have access to this in real time. You get updates on your app. Significant number of bidders bid on their app. Brokers are using the app all the time. It tells you when someone new signs a CA. You could jump in. You see there their contact information, phone, email, where they're from, when they were in the vault first, last, what they downloaded. You can enter your price guidance. You can fill in your notes. All that information is right there, right at your fingertips. So as Barry alluded to earlier, there are no surprises. We never want to surprise somebody when all of a sudden bid day comes down and it's like, well, here's the pricing that we're seeing, or we only have 1 bidder. Everything we're doing is very, very systematic. It's very calculated, very time specific with how we do our whole process.
Okay.
You want me to get into the...
Yeah, I'm just tracking it to see.
Okay.
Yeah, look, it just sold. So that's kind of cool. You see.
Okay. So let me touch on this. This deal just traded here. Right. So this deal just sold. And basically what I want to show you real quick is the activity. Okay, so the only way that somebody can bid, and again, we have access to this dashboard on auction day. So things are moving fast and feverishly for the broker, and they're moving very fast for the seller. We have all of our qualified bidders, right? We've checked proof of funds. We've checked entity documents. Made sure that everybody's on the same level playing field as the next person. Okay, so now we show up to the auction. It typically starts on a Monday at noon Eastern. And keep in mind, we have 45 deals transacting yesterday and today. Every deal is going to trade over, let's say, a 5 to 6 minute separation. So this deal specifically, as Jim just showed you, we had 9 fully approved bidders. So what's cool now is that we have full transparency into these bidders, right? You can only place a bid if you're logged into your iPhone, iPad, or your computer in terms of the TenX application, your TenX login. We know if you're viewing the listing. So a lot of times what happens is say, wow, we have 9 bidders. Who's actually bidding on the deal? Who's looking? Who's watching what's going on? Did these people tap out when the bidding hit 6.2 million and said, forget it? I'm done, and they walked away from the screen. We don't know. The only way you can do is send them text messages. You call and you bother the bidders. We have full engagement. We know who's logged in and who still has the ability to bid. So you saw here, we had 1, 2, 3 that were viewing the listing. This gentleman here was on it as of a minute ago. Now that the deal just finished, some folks are going to start falling off the screen. But that shows significant activity because, again, as you're getting higher up in the price, some folks might have said, hey, my pricing was $6 million. Maybe I'll stay on and watch it finish. Maybe I'll just bounce off. One of the things that I did want to point out here, again, the reserve flashed, the client flashed the reserve price, okay, at $6 million. We had bidding activity. If I go back to this screen here real quick, let me just pull up, might have fallen off already. Yeah, I'll just go back here. So basically, the bidding hit $6 million, right? That was the reserve on this deal. We had these 2 active bidders that were bidding at $100,000 increments up to 6.7. So here's what I want to touch upon when it comes to the auction process. People say, well, how do you get to that number if there's a reserve price? So there is a reserve price. You and your client establish a reserve price. TenX's job is just to make sure, we're not the valuation experts or the brokers, but we do want to make sure that that deal has a realistic chance of selling, that we can bring a market to it. So we do look at every deal. We reject a lot of deals. We have an upfront due diligence process, as Jim and I have been talking to. If a buyer's going to show up and do all this upfront work and 95% of our deals don't transact, we're not going to be known as a trusted marketplace. But when they know deals are transacted and we have realistic sellers who are ready to meet the market when it's created, people will show up. That's why you have 9 fully approved bidders bidding all cash or some with financing, non-contingent financing, ready to close in 30 or 60 days on a $7 million acquisition. People are bidding $6, $7 million on the internet. We sold a $22 million mall in New Jersey yesterday. So one of the things I want to touch upon here is you come in with your reserve price. You do not transact unless your reserve price is met for you and your client. There are also no fees. Everything that Jim and I talked about with scanning photos, ordering third-party reports, no upfront fees. If the deal transact, right, the seller pays their typical closing costs, pays the broker, TenX is paid a buyer premium, but there's absolutely no cost to transact. If we agree to take your asset on, we pay for everything and we give it our all on 1,000%. There is a reserve price. This reserve price here was $6 million. That's what the point of indifference where the seller said, if I get to $6 million, I'm good. Through a competitive bidding war, we achieved $6.7 million, which is more than 10% above what they're offering. Now keep in mind, the buyer is paying 5% above that. So when people say, hey, TenX, how do you get paid? How do I manage the fee load? Don't worry about how we get paid. If we do everything right, we will get paid by the buyer and everything will work itself out. The client here is taking home 10% more in proceeds than they wanted to come off today. They wanted $6 million, we got 6.7. So through that competition, because what happens is as the clock's winding down to 0, if you've all worked with eBay, you can come in and place a sniper bid and you think you won, but all of a sudden at 0, you realize you lost. Any bid on our platform placed inside of 2 minutes will add an additional 3.5 minutes of overtime onto the clock. This gives everybody a chance to kind of reset their emotions, rethink about what they want to do, and then potentially place another bid. So this deal here was actually supposed to end maybe 10 minutes ago, but through the competitive bidding process and the overtime window, you saw additional bids above the reserve. Actually, the reserve was hit at $6 million. The increments were dropped to 100,000, and 7 additional bids were placed to get to 6.7 million. So that's the competition that's created. That's the emotion. That's the excitement. What I call it is it's like truth serum. People may say, hey, I might pay 5.5, I might pay $6 million for this deal. You are extracting, this is my phrase, you are extracting the true best and final offer someone is willing to pay, okay, on March, what's today's date? 12. March 12th? March 12th, 2020, you are extracting the true best and final offer that somebody's willing to pay today. That's the beautiful part about our process. Most of these buyers come in and say, hey, I'll pay 5.5. They're sniffing around, they're feeling out what the true number is. We achieved 6.7 million, 10% above the client's reserve price. So again, we will do more offline type of stuff with you. We'll do one-on-one type of demos, but it was crucial for Jim and I to demonstrate the technology that we rolled out a year ago with that dashboard, but also this tool. One more thing that we're adding in is, with all these unknown buyers, folks always ask us, who are these people? I got 341 coffees, who do I call back? Yes, TenX is here to help you, but also we are providing you information, which we're adding to our dashboard now, that's going to tell you, with this winning buyer, Mark, okay, what has Mark done with TenX? Does he have any track record in the TenX platform? Which is great. So now we can show you what he's done. in terms of his proof of funds, folks say, what has he shown? What liquidity has he shown to buy this transaction? So Jim, if you can go back real quick to the broker dashboard.
Trying, it just froze. Yeah, Mark's proof of funds was $20 million.
20 million. And if you go back to the dashboard, you can actually click on the document and it will actually show you his actual document that our operations team uploaded. So it might have been like a Morgan Stanley bank statement. It might have been, Chase Bank, whatever his bank is, but it's going to show you the actual document that we verified to confirm his proof of funds is okay for him to bid on this asset, to compete. And when he wins, give pretty good certainty that it closes.
That's this right here. I don't want to pull up his bank statement,
of course,
but this would
that's
be
that document.
This would be an actual document that we validated and verified that he has liquid proof of funds to execute.
And then the last thing let me touch upon, and we'll move on to FAQ. Jim could touch on the partnership program as we wrap up, is now that the auction is finished, right? We are in our Irvine headquarters, Jim and I, right now in a conference room. Out there in the war room, we have 15 people that are focusing on proof of funds, that are focusing on auctioneers, professional auctioneers, working the auction dashboards with you as a broker and your seller client. Then we have a group of folks that we are contracting closing. Now that this deal officially finished, it goes into our contracting department. That non-negotiable PSA is going to be sent out to this winning buyer. That buyer signs it via DocuSign, another electronic tool. The seller will countersign it tonight. The buyer is then obligated to submit a 10% non-refundable deposit tomorrow. So with the buyer premium, you're going to have probably $700,000 come in hard money tomorrow. We're going to open escrow and move towards this hotel. So with the transfer of the franchise with the flag, it'll likely be a 45 to 60 day close. If not, 80% of our closings take place in less than 30 days. So, I mean, the process that we've developed and the certainty of execution, the global exposure, removing uncertainty and providing democratization for buyers has really, blossomed, and that's why we've been so successful.
Joe, do me a favor, touch on, so up here we go market feedback. This is what Jose, the broker, and Brittany DeGrassi, his, in-house asset manager, they've been talking to all of these 363 leads. Every single one of them has been personally touched by our team, by Jose, the broker, and they're always gathering that feedback. And so this is giving your seller really sound market feedback. Obviously, buyers are never going to tell you, oh, I'm willing to pay 6.7. They'll come in a little bit lower, but this is good to really help set realistic expectations with your sellers coming into auction day. And so as you see here, market feedback was $5.8 to $6 million. Candidly, the reserve was higher than $6 million, but based on the feedback we were able to exhibit with the broker back to this seller, the seller then said, you know what, I think it's probably best to lower the reserve. And I want you to speak to the power of reserve when we give that seller real valuable, real data, for them to then make that decision to say, I'm willing to lower the reserve, because they know that very often creates much more bidding that can get you back well above reserve, which is what
correct. And that's a beautiful part about our process. We say when the reserve is met, that's when the magic happens. 2 minutes. And if you think about the platform, a lot of folks ask, well, what about the seller or the auctioneer? The seller can't actually bid. It's our auction manager on the phone with you, the broker, and your seller client, discussing the bidding. Hey, we said this is where, guys, we're at the high end of the range. What do you want to do? The buyers are kind of there. Do you want to meet the market? Before that reserve is flashed on the front end of the screen for buyers, they don't know if they're bidding against the house or they're bidding against another buyer. When we flash reserve met, that's a signal to the buyers. It's now buyer against buyer, mano a mano. There's no more seller bidding, games, whatever you want to call it. It's bidder against bidder. That's why we have that increased activity. That's why you saw 7 bids of $100,000 each above that $6 million number, because now they know it's buyer against buyer. I'm not bidding against the house anymore. Someone else perceives value where I do. The competition, the emotion starts to set in, and that's where we maximize the execution. Also, nice statistic, we had 9 bidders sitting there on the sidelines, right? Typically what happens is, some folks say, how come only 4 or 5 have bid? We're not quite sure. Some have said they might be at the high end of their guidance and we passed it. Others are waiting for that reserve to flash. The minute the reserve is flashed, they know the deal is going to be sold. When the clock hits 0, that contract's going out, 10% hard money, your chance to buy this asset is gone. So typically 1.6 on average new bidders on the sidelines jump in to bid, creating that excitement, creating that emotion, because now they know, again, if that clock hits 0, their chance to buy it is over. They can't call you, the broker, and say, hey, here's my traditional LOI, here's my offer, oh, here's my new number, now I'll close it. It's already done.
Eliminates the retrade, and then more importantly, as the broker, now you have 8 other people that you can go pick up the phone and call if you have another asset that's similar to this hotel. So you have 8 people that were already been fully vetted, already qualified, were excited, motivated. Maybe 4 of them participated in the auction, but you've been talking to the other 5 for the last 45 days. Our leads are your leads. So all of
these 363 are yours. You download the download button to Excel. You download that to Excel. You can send out emails about tours. We help you out, but that adds to your database, and then off you go. Our default rate is about 7%. It happens, but 93% of the time, buyers show up, they participate, they win, and then they move forward. There are some buyers that have buyer's remorse, but 93% hit rate with the way we developed our process, tremendous. When that hard money deposit is in, that contract is signed, 98% plus closing rate. 10% hard money is pretty crucial, and we've proven that, and buyers are willing to do it, and that's why we're able to transact as well as we can.
All right, we're running short on time. I'm going to wrap up we'll open it up for some questions, but I quickly want to I touched on it at the beginning of the presentation. Our commitment to the brokerage community, we've just rolled out it's called a broker partnership program. As you can see here, we're rewarding our broker partners and the folks like Barry that are bringing deals to the platform, that have exhibited a commitment to the platform and are showing true partnership. Well, we want to reward you with that. And for that, we are offering up, as Joe mentioned, we get paid by the buyer. There's a 5% buyer's premium that the buyer pays on top of their purchase price. Your listing agreement stays in place the same way it would be with or without us. But what we're willing to do to our top brokers, and Barry's a platinum broker, so in his instance, we're willing to give 40% of our fee back to Barry. Barry can either pass that on to his seller to lighten the load of the overall deal. It could be used to offset his listing agreement fee. It could be the entire, he could say, all right, Mr. Seller or Mr. and Mrs. Seller, instead of paying me 3, 4, 5 points on this deal, you only have to pay me 1 point, 2 points. I'm going to get paid, 2 or 3 points from TenX. So
yeah, the point here is this is our commitment to the brokers, right? Every broker is unique. We know you all work for firms or individually, and we're creating partnerships with you individually as a broker because this is what's gotten us where we are. We cannot transact, we cannot be successful without the quality of the brokers and the commitment that brokers give to the platform.
You said it, 50%. 50%, Joe made it earlier. 50% of all deals that transact on the platform are sourced by brokers, and that stat's growing. So if you were to talk to TH Lee and our board of directors, they want 75, 80% of all of our deals being sourced by brokers.
We want 1,000 platinum brokers, not just in the bunch we have now. We want to continue growing our partnership and show a commitment again to what we're really trying to do here, is being a platform and intermediary that you can sell to your clients very easily. It's just another way of transacting real estate. We just took an offline process, we put it online. It's as simple as that.
Anybody? So if anybody has any questions, feel free to put them in the chat box. I think we answered a bunch of them. I think we've run over time, so I'll show you my contact information. So on the screen you have my phone number. Feel free to call me. I'll actually shoot a follow-up email to everybody that's attended. I'll send you a document on that broker partnership program. If you have any questions about how to engage, you start earning fees with us after your first deal. So you don't have to be a Barry and at the platinum level. We value the partnership of the brokerage community. We're here to partner. We're here to help you and support you in any way. My contact information's on the screen. We appreciate everybody attending and look forward to working with you all.
Thank you, guys.
Thanks.